If you're looking back going to 2012, lots of numbers on the screen, but look at Matt Ryan in the lower left corner. He is the only one on the list to make the Super Bowl while accounting for more than 15% of the team's total salary cap. And of course, his team did not win. Dak is currently accounting for 14.9% of the Cowboys' total salary cap. That is, if he does indeed sign the franchise tag that he currently has. So I want to bring my football group back into this. It's a number you've probably heard before. No team has won the Super Bowl with their quarterback taking up, or any player taking up, more than 15% of their total salary cap. So Dan Orlovsky, when you look at those analytics, what do you think?
Well, I mean, got to pay someone, right? Like, when are we going to decide, like, teams don't pay the quarterback, well, don't pay the receiver, don't pay the running back, don't pay the offensive lineman. Like, there's a floor that the NFL has to spend. Greeny, I used this saying, I don't know, a couple months ago, don't pay good players great player money. And that's where teams get in their issues. And it's really with the quarterback spot. Teams decide to pay their stars. Their star quarterback, when they decide to pay him, they're okay. That pie is going to be fine because you know you have the best piece available. The problem is when they pay the starting quarterback star quarterback money. That's the issue that we're getting to all that when we're talking about Dak and the Cowboys or whatnot. And so, you know, like, the issue with the Cowboys is they're talking out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to the analytics. Well, you didn't talk about that way with Zeke last year, and you can't sit there and say, we really want to pay Dak, but only the amount of money we want to pay him. So, listen, there's a couple star quarterbacks in the NFL. Pay them, and you'll be thankful that you do. But don't make the mistake of paying your starting quarterback star quarterback money.
Now, Nick, again, I mean, sometimes we can make numbers say whatever we want them to say, but the numbers are what they are. No quarterback has won the Super Bowl taking up that percentage of the salary cap. Does that mean nothing?
It means nothing. The numbers are what they are, but they can be bent. So a percentage of salary cap is not the best measure. You can front load a contract, you can back load a contract. It's better to look at the average value of a contract, because even Jared Goff's deal, it goes from being 10% of salary cap to 15 later in the deal. So I understand the point that you're making, and it is easier to build a team when you have a cheap quarterback, but it doesn't mean that you can't win with a quarterback. It just means it hasn't happened. There have been plenty of quarterbacks that have made it to the Final Four. A few have made it to the Super Bowl who have accounted to close to 15% of their team's salary cap. So it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It just means you need to do like the Saints and draft well after you pay your quarterback. So it can be done. You just have to do a better job in the front office and stop blaming the players.
Dan Graziano, the numbers just say what they say, and a hard salary cap is a zero-sum game. You have X amount of dollars, so it only makes sense that when you're paying the quarterback, no matter how good he is, you are robbing from Peter to pay Paul. That just does stand to reason, does it not?
No.
In theory, yes. But to Domonique's point, it's not the player's job to help the team manage the salary cap. And, you know, you're talking about since 2012, so you're giving me 8 Super Bowls out of 54. I mean, it's still a small sample size. And I think when you look at this, that if Matt Ryan's team holds a 25-point second-half lead, then this stat doesn't hold up. Does that mean that was wrong of the Falcons to pay Matt Ryan? I just think there's too many fluky things that happen that decide who wins the Super Bowl for you to connect it to this. Plus, think about this, too, when you listen to Stephen Jones. They've offered Dak Prescott a lot of money. I mean, well, from what we understand, they're offering him in excess of $34 million a year with a 9-digit guarantee. So I really think that this is all about the negotiation, all about, you know, the way the Cowboys operate in terms of trying to get players to come to them. And at this point, you know, Dak Prescott has held out. There's no reason for him not, and I don't mean hold out. He's holding out for more money. He's holding out signing the contract. He's not holding out. He has shown up and he has played. But the deadline on this is July 15th. If they don't get the long-term deal done by July 15th, they can't negotiate one until after the season. If we're on July 16th and he still hasn't signed, then it's a different story. But for now, it's just all about negotiating and posturing, and that's what's going on with the Cowboys.
Orlovsky, quickly. I'm not talking about, we're having two separate conversations. I'm not talking about whether the player should be helping the team with their salary cap. I'm talking about whether it makes sense to pay the player that much or not. The player should get as much money as he possibly can, just like everybody else. But the question is whether it actually does hamper your ability to win if you do it.
It all depends on the player, Greeny. Like, do you think that the Seattle Seahawks regret paying Russell Wilson? Absolutely not. Or the Saints regret paying Drew Brees? Absolutely not, because they're great players. Like, me and you love golf, right?
Yeah.
And if you hear all the great players in golf right now talk about it, it's about distance, right? Hit this ball as far as I possibly can, even if it's not perfectly straight, because it gets me closer to my end goal, closer to that pin. I look at it the same way with the Cowboys, or with quarterbacks. Listen, I'm going to pay the superstar because it's going to get me closer to my end goal, which is winning the Super Bowl. All it takes you to do is get into the playoffs. And then there's nothing more dangerous in the playoffs than a hot quarterback. But it goes back to this. If you are going to pay your quarterback, who's just a starter, star quarterback money, that's your problem as an organization. You cannot make that mistake.
Go ahead, Nick, finish
That's
up.
not a mistake necessarily. That's where you and I differ a little bit, because the option there is you pay a good quarterback great player money. Go ahead and pay a bad quarterback good player money. You'll be much worse off. If you don't have a quarterback, you don't have a chance.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.